Yeah! Something going on! Yeah! Yeah! Something going on in the neighborhood. Why do we see much further than we should? You're sick of the lies, sick of the lies. Who you gonna call when you get on the line? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Yeah! GLOBEBUSTERS! 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 If there ain't no curve, there ain't no ball. The globe religion about to fall. We're gonna open your eyes so you can see who you gonna call if you wanna be free. GLOBEBUSTERS! 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 Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Yeah! GLOBEBUSTERS! GLOBEBUSTErs! GLOBEBUSTERs!
And welcome everybody to GLOBEBUSTERS. We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GLOBEBUSTERS Tech. I'm your host, Zach. Good times for all, and today we're going to be talking about how rocks grow. This is a subject that really touches near and dear to, I think, just about everybody on the panel. If we haven't gotten Kyle yet, I know we'll get him soon. Yeah, this is something that Cammie really got me into. Just now when I'm like walking through a parking lot and, sometimes they'll have the rocks throughout the middle of it or something. If I have a minute or something like that, or I'm waiting around, standing around, I'm going to spend that minute looking at the rocks. And, it's really neat, especially when you learn how you can clean them up and shine them and make them all pretty and polish them, and they just really pop. And yeah, they're really amazing. And there's so much to it. There's so much to the different types of minerals and crystals and how they all, conglomerate together, and we call those different things. And yeah, so today we're going to break down not just, that rocks are everywhere and that they actually grow, but how and why they grow. And how it's like, well, why did the rock grow here and not over here right next to it? And we're going to kind of get into that and how just changing certain parts of the environment, the surrounding area, can really affect what's going to happen to the material that's in that environment. But before we do any of that, we're going to say hello to the panel. Starting off, we're going to say hello to Miss Karen B. Karen, how are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Thanks. Glad to be here. I
How was
love
your-
rocks.
I know you do. I love going. I could sit on your back porch like all day long and just look at rocks. And you still wouldn't have enough time to look at all of them because they're all over the place. Yeah. Karen is definitely a rock hound.
Mm-hmm.
And next up we have Kyle Adams. Kyle, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing really well. Doing really well.
Good. So have you gotten into rocks yet? Do they catch your eye?
My daughter has. They like to go do their rock collections and all kinds of stuff like that, and I encourage that. And yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a fascinating world, and when you really start understanding these minerals, I mean, a lot of these minerals are parts of, things that we need to survive. And yeah, they're that important. It's just like the plant kingdom. The mineral kingdom is just as important. Yeah, we do get a lot of those minerals from plants because plants pull them out of the ground and kind of conglomerate them all together with us. But without those rocks down there, breaking up and getting crushed up and all these other things and all these minerals being released for the plants to get, yeah, we wouldn't be able to get those minerals. So it's really a symbiotic relationship. Plants, animals, and then minerals. It's really neat how it all works out and how we all, you know, something can be a plant, then be consumed by a animal, and then turn into a mineral after that through, the environment and just being the right way. It's kind of like baking a cake. And we're going to get into all that. And then very last, but definitely not least, someone who has taught me a lot about this subject, Mrs. Cammie Nodell. Cammie, how are you doing?
I am exhausted. It's been a long emotional week. This week with Bob's birthday week, and we had people in from out of town, and it's been very emotional. Had something happen with Zach, was very emotional in that. So I'm just I wasn't going to do this show today, and I'm inspired by a Facebook post. Thank you, Daryl Davis. I like Facebook posts that make you think and do this, and it hit me again. I know that we've done a video on crystalline knowledge, and I thought we covered a lot of different things, but people really do not look at rocks the way that they need to be looking at rocks in reality. We look at the animal kingdom and we watch the babies being born in awe in creation. I've ever been to a farm, puppies, people holding a new baby. There's nothing like it. You go to your garden and you put a seed in and you watch the miracle of it turning into and growing into a plant, into a seedling, producing a fruit. You watch it, and if you watch it with any intelligence at all, you watch it in awe. You watch it in complete awe that this is really something magical and wonderful happening. And we're kind of taught that instinctively because we go out and we plant seeds. We go to the hospital and we have babies, and this they can't hide from us much. But dumb as rocks and inanimate objects, rocks. Take a tree, there's no any feeling, no anything there, no intelligence. They're rocks. Rocks degrow just the same as plants grow, just the same as people grow. They have their own process. But rocks, anything on this earth has grown, and it's miraculous. I mean, it's miraculous that when you don't look at it, it makes me mad as a mother. It makes me really, really mad. It's one of the biggest things that they're hiding, and it's creation. You're hiding creation here. And so if you look at it just as rocks, and they've turned it into woo-woo. They have turned it into a woo-woo science, so that even scientists look at crystals and call it a woo-woo science, when in fact they're Silicon Valley, and that we're building all of our technology around rocks, crystallization, minerals. Nothing exists that wasn't here before, and we build everything out of this material, out of crystalline material. Everything that we have, either plants, if it's not plant material, it's crystalline material. A little of it is glass material, and that we make glasses out of it. But we were told the story that millions of years ago, the rocks grew, and then there were the dinosaurs, and something about we evolved from monkeys, and we've come to realize that we didn't evolve from monkeys, and the dinosaurs are probably the dragons in this story, and we've come to all of this, but nobody has really pointed out that the biggest part of the lie, that we're on a living earth, and it's very much a living earth. We can reproduce it in laboratory. I know they grow because we've grown them. Zach, he knows he's grown them. And when I look at different things in nature, like saying, how is this possible? I look at nature and say, not only is it possible, but it would be impossible for it not to be like this, not for pieces like this. from the Facebook post that you read that I sent you, Karen. And I don't know if we can show the picture of that up. Zach, can you bring that picture up of and what inspired this show? Or I suppose I can if you want me to, if it's
Yeah, I'm
easier
not
for me to
sure
get
what
up.
picture you're talking about, so you go
Okay,
ahead
if I,
and
let me see if I can. I know I sent it to Karen.
And while you're looking for that, I just wanted to. I keep thinking about the movie Frozen, and then they've got the little trolls over there, and they've got their little crystals, and that's just kind of the way the media tries to portray people who get into crystals is kind of the woo-woo as you're
The
describing.
woo-woo factor, exactly,
Yeah.
the total woo-woo factor. And that's crazy if you look at, and I think we will play parts of a video, you can pull that one up, Zach, the 1958 crystals as you can get it, but let's see if I can figure out how to share a screen. And I'm running on one screen right now, so let's do it this way. Present, share screen.
well, before we get into showing the crystals grow, there was something I wanted to show,
Okay.
and it is Walter Lewin talking about how things go from one state to another. And you know, it's not just temperature that you change to, you know, manipulate things in certain ways. Pressure plays a huge role in the form of crystals and things like that. If the pressure's not right, it's not going to happen. You can't just have the temperature or just the pressure. It's kind of like baking a cake. You have to have everything, you know, the ingredients have to be there, the surrounding area has to be a certain temperature, the pressure has to be a certain pressure, and if you change these things, the cake isn't going to look like a cake when it's all done. It's just not. And what he's going to talk about here is how changing the pressure of a gas can make it go from a liquid to a solid without changing the temperature at all, and how a gas can go from a gas to a solid and never become a liquid with, you know, because the temperature is at a different, yeah, it's really neat. I saw this when I was
It makes
looking
me think
into
of
the
dry
gas
ice
law.
and how it kind of sublimates and how it's solid, but it's going directly from that solid state to a vapor state, just like that.
Yeah, there's no liquid at all.
Transition. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the opposite of this. Yeah, it's really neat. So check this out. This is Walter Lewin, MIT, his 801 lecture number 33.
I will show you your first schematic of a phase diagram, which is also on the web. Here you see a phase diagram, very intuitive. Here's pressure, here's temperature.
Okay, so you have your pressure and your temperature, and then you have your gas here, the liquid and solid, and then you see this little line right here. And he's going to explain what that is.
Imagine that we have a cylinder, and we put gas in that cylinder, and we put a piston on top, and we push it down.
Okay, so if you don't know what a cylinder like he's talking about with a piston, in the vehicle, in a lot of engines, they'll have what's called a cylinder. And it's just a circle, like a, it's not so much a cylinder, it's the shape of a cylinder, okay? It's like you could have a big block of whatever, metal, and then you have the, almost like it was hollowed out, like drilled out. That is what he's talking about, a cylinder. And then a piston is something that will compress that and not let any air come out of it. It's going to be like the perfect, almost the exact same size as that cylinder. And a piston then compresses the air inside of that. That's what he's talking about when he says a piston in a cylinder.
Slowly pushing it down. So we start here with gas at a particular temperature, which we're not going to change, and we slowly push the piston down. In this trajectory, the ideal gas law would hold. Temperature remains constant. So if you look at the gas law, PV remains constant. That's called Boyle's law, by the way, that the product of pressure and volume remains constant. So the pressure in the gas goes up, the volume goes down, pressure goes up, volume goes down, pressure goes up, until I hit this point. And now, liquid is going to be formed. So the pressure is now high enough at this temperature to form liquid. If I push further, the pressure will not go up. all the gas will first turn into liquid, all of it, until the last molecule. And not until everything has become liquid can I push even further onto the liquid to increase the pressure on the liquid. It may be a silly thing to do, but I could do that. You're not going to compress it very much, but you can try. And in some cases, if you put a tremendous pressure on it, you may turn the liquid into a solid. And then you reach.
Now, I don't know what kinds of liquids he's talking about. I know, like water, you cannot compress water. Water is as compressed as it's going to be. You can't, like in a cylinder, there is no making water smaller.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that, and it's kind of reminding me of the underwater lakes that they have. You've seen the submarine bouncing off that other barrier down there, and it's still liquid, but it's still, it's not. I don't know even how to describe that. That's kind of one of the great mysteries out there.
Well, not really, because in physics, I mean, look at our atmosphere is a fluid, and a lake is a fluid, and it's a fluid meeting a fluid, and that it's just a denser fluid layer there meeting a lighter density fluid. And again, it's going to arrange itself that way. That's how reality works.
Maybe the underwater lake thing is from like salinity of the water. I'm
exactly.
not sure.
You're just getting at something that caused the heavy density to gather in that one area. Probably again a heavy saline, or that making that group of water again much heavier density. So you're going to have a barrier. I find that again natural, not a curiosity, but again it's a surprise if it wouldn't happen. And anytime you watch the waters meet the waters, it's beautiful. It's not when they draw the blue marble and everything is this blue color. Again, where the oceans meet, oceans they're different colors. Where the rivers meet each other, they're different colors. It's dynamic. It's fabulous. We keep on going with this.
Okay.
This domain where you have a solid. What is much less intuitive, that if you did it at a lower temperature and you squeeze the volume so that the pressure would go up, that you may now reach the point here in this phase diagram whereby no liquid is formed, no condensation of liquid, but you get immediately the formation of crystals. So you go from the gas phase immediately into the solid phase. If you push further down the piston, the pressure will not go up until all the gas has become solid. And then it will continue to go further.
Okay. So just kind of showing you that, you know, beneath us, there's all kinds of caves and pockets of air and liquids all around underneath us. And, you know, earthquakes happen. Sometimes you have sinkholes, all kinds of things where, you know, new things are introduced down here and pressures are going to be changing. There's going to be new pressures being put on certain areas beneath it. You know, if a big giant piece of granite somehow like breaks loose and starts putting pressure on the ground beneath it, it's going to alter the conditions of the ground beneath it.
That's got me asking a lot of questions here about the firmament. Like instantly, it was like interesting here.
Yeah,
really interesting about like crystallization. Yeah.
Exactly. This is what I've talked about a lot on my streams, is particularly in scripture, in Genesis, the verse is 1-2, the great deep, right? The earth was formless and there was the spirit of Elohim was up across the face of the great deep. What the great deep, in my opinion, is the supersaturated crystalline slurry. And then when, you know, the creator turns it on, you know, because basically that's the one thing that is the hardest to recreate, is like that initial bond. Like whenever we make crystals, we have to have a seed crystal inside of it, right? So, but the creator started that seed, right? You know, they spoke, you know, let their, you know, whatever, speaking into existence. It's light. So what is light? Information, it's action, it's boom. And so in my opinion, that's proof or evidence thereof, the firmament being crystalline. And in fact, probably the whole exterior structure and just about everything that we walk on is crystalline.
Well, that's what Cami said in a previous episode. She talked about how any solid object is crystal.
Yeah.
It's crystal.
It is.
Yes, it is. Sandstone, when you think of little things like that, sand is just little bitty crystals and it gets compressed together. So some of this stuff is conglomerates and tiny crystals. But this is glass or non-organized is so rare in nature. Where you really see it is along the lava flows. Fulgites, like where you have a lightning strike and it'll make glass out of sand, different things like that.
It's like
But
burning your cake. You know,
mhm,
when like the edges of the cake get burned, it won't be all fluffy and nice. It'll be kind of all melted and turn black and gooey. It didn't, the heat was too high. It didn't cool off it cooled off too quickly, maybe. There's all these different things that can affect the outcome of it. Like lava, you're not it's not going to crystallize when it hits the air and cools off instantly like that. It's it's too rapid of a change. It's almost got to
Yeah.
sit there and bake for a little bit to give
Or it
time
has
for
to
it to
cool
grow.
slowly in order for those bonds to be made and for that geometry to form.
Yeah, you have to give it needs time. Like the cake isn't going to bake in 5 minutes.
Right. But it also depends on the material because some of it forms real fast because
Yeah,
bismuth forms in seconds, its crystalline
ridiculously
form,
fast.
like
Yeah.
instantly. But there's other things that take a longer time. It just depends on the material, the mineral, and what it is,
And the
and that's how it
environment.
and
Like
dictates how it
bismuth,
forms.
the top doesn't grow crystals up. The top that's on the air side, you'll have your bismuth in a little kiln or in a little pot, whatever you're boiling it in, and then it'll form a layer of crust on the top. Well, the crystals on that layer start growing down into the liquid bismuth and grow that way. They never grow up this way into the air because the air isn't the right temperature for them to grow.
It's got
That
me thinking
happens
about pancakes
underneath.
here.
The-
Pancake is a pretty flat surface, but you watch pancakes grow on the inside. That's where the growth is happening. The growth isn't happening on the surface of the pancake. It's all within it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I liked what you said about baking a cake because that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? Baking a cake is the crystallization process of the cake, going
bismuth
from
is
that liquid to a solid.
bismuth is fun as a metal because bismuth you're going to see like what I brought up with that chair that you've got on the, or I did have on the screen. I can bring it back up because I switched pages. It's all the same page, so you can see what I'm doing, Zach. But bismuth, when people are asking how this could happen, bismuth is a perfect example. This metal, you say it crystallizes so very rapidly, right? Because you're watching it become fabulous crystals in front of you, and you're going to do that. I'm going to stop sharing and get it up. I see what I'm doing to the screen. Bismuth actually, for metal in its properties, is one of the slowest growing. Most of the crystals, most of the metals crystallize so quickly that you can't get this glossy state. You only can get it in crystalline.
Yeah, and that's what the chunks look like of bismuth. That's what mine looked like when I bought them. Just beautiful, like really, it almost looks like a chrome that's been.
It's a bar of metal that's shiny
and it's not hard to melt. It doesn't have a very
low
high
temperature.
melting point. But it's really neat. Let's okay, he's gonna, yes, of course, gloves and safety gear. Fast forward a little bit. It doesn't take very long. Remember, Karen, how quick it happened when you were over and we were melting it?
Yep.
This we
In
were watching it,
seconds.
not photographing it, but this happens in seconds. With some of the other metals, it happens in milliseconds. It is literally crystallizing so
here?
quickly.
Looks like he's trying to scoop off that like impurities.
Yeah. Very cool. And then when he takes it away from the heat, oh wow, he's still got it on the heat. And look, you can see him forming there.
Mm-hmm. You can watch him completely organized, forming. And this is into a negative crystal. Bismuth grows into a negative crystal pattern.
And the colors are amazing. They'll turn green. You have your green here, like a blue. You'll get reds and yellows. It'll look like a rainbow almost.
Yeah.
Purples.
You can melt it just right there on a stove, like a typical
right there on a
stove.
stove, on a burner.
It doesn't take like an industrial forge to melt it.
No.
There's metals that will melt in your hand.
in your hand even. Is actually what you're doing. Zach's gonna boil liquids in his hand right now if you want, while we're doing this. Go ahead and boil liquid in your hand, Zach. Hold it in front of the camera, all
here
the
you
way in
go.
front.
Boil?
Yep.
See that? I forget what
this?
kind of liquid it is.
Ethanol.
Ethanol. And as I
And it
grab this
and
and
it
add
goes.
heat to it, it's going to fill up the top and start boiling.
Oh,
Wow.
there it goes. This is called a hand boiler, and he's
By
boiling
the heat of your
ethanol in his
hand.
hand. By the heat of it, he's going to defy gravity, which, again, the electrostatic force is just a very weak.
Ethanol is that
Very
stuff that
weak
they
in a
put in your
pressurized-
car. So like
It's an
they put
alcohol.
it, they add it to fuel all the time.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize it boiled so easily. So it's like when you put that in gasoline, does that just like make your gasoline boil?
Well, it's like alcohol. It's like pure alcohol.
It's like pure alcohol. It's
Ethanol is.
Uh-huh.
That's the stuff they tell you will make you blind when you drink, like moonshiners. They have to throw away the first little bit of it because that's ethanol, like pure ethanol.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what I don't know what he's talking about here.
This guy's not as good as you are on crystal.
No, we actually made some that turned out even better than this.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, you can see people get some really huge ones. There's a guy that was doing them outside in his front yard. Yeah, this might be, look at that.
So he's melting, he's pulling it out. Now let's pull this to your screen and see the perfect structure, perfect right angles, the perfect. This just grew itself like that by changing.
And it grows very quickly, yeah.
Very quickly. Slow for a metal. Most metals change over quicker. So keep in mind that for a metal, that's a slow grower. But look at your growth in the organization.
It looks so
1958 will take you into at a microscopic, yeah. But no, this is what they're not teaching you is that they tell you rocks take millions of years to form. And
okay, here you go. See, he's got the heat off. He's letting it cool off a little bit. And you have to break into it and then pull out chunks. The crystals are actually growing down into it. Look at that. Wow.
There you go. Perfection. You couldn't carve. You couldn't.
And it's still liquid. You can see it's still shaking around and moving. Most of it's still liquid, but that top layer hardens and then the crystals grow off of that top layer down into inverted pyramids, like backwards pyramids. They grow from the center out and get bigger.
Inverted ziggurats.
Inverted. There you go.
Be interesting to try and like see what happens if you just drip it onto each other. You know what I mean?
It's no different. Do you remember when I was a child, we used to make rock candy, and we used to make rock candy by taking a super saturated slurry of sugar water and dropping a piece of string in it. And on a string, crystals would form, and we would have rock candy, and there'd be all of these crystals growing out from there. They don't do that anymore, but if you put a little bit of dye in it, you'd have your perfect little rock candies, and it would crystallize that way. That was a popular children's candy.
Yeah. Doing that with like sugar crystals.
Now it is pure sugar. I won't lie.
Wow.
But again, sugar crystals.
There
It's all
you go.
crystalline.
90-degree angles all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
In your cubic and your 90-degree structure on that.
Wow.
Ooh, that side's cooler.
Yeah, it is. Way cooler.
That's the popular lie out there is there's no such thing as a straight line in nature.
Oh, yeah, but they're all over the place in rocks.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Get a good... Look at that. That's wild looking right throughout there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bismuth is fun. I could look at people play with bismuth all day long. But it's not just bismuth that does that.
It's everything.
Check this out.
Everything.
Now, this got me thinking of, an ocean, and, they say that the earth is set upon pillars, right? So check this out. The way that this just blew my mind when I was watching it. Now, there's better ones of this happening, But what really struck me was when it hit the air, what it started doing. So these are, they call them magic rocks. They grow crystals off of them. It's like a seed. After 50 minutes, the rocks had stopped growing, so a second layer was added. So he added some more magic rocks in there. And these things just took off. But check this out once it hits the top. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
It started spreading out. And it made me think of
Yeah.
pillars.
You're
And then,
right. I see it.
yeah, if there was
Yes.
enough, you could have a bunch of these and then a big, I mean, because that got real wide real quick. Let me go
Mhm.
back. Whoa. And when it gets up there, it doesn't take it very long. Zoop. Like it got wide pretty quick. Which just made me think that, set on pillars. What if the pillars are actually crystalline in nature?
Yeah, that makes sense
Like
Of
to me.
course
this.
they are.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
Like in
solid.
my mind,
They're
there's no
solid.
question. Especially
Yeah.
if you go watch like those caver channels. I love watching the Adventure Twins. Where these guys go and they find holes in the ground and they go like down in there like thousands of feet, and it's all these crystalline formations under there, and they find all these cool crystal rocks that they can never take out because they had to worm through this little hole just to even get into the room that the crystals are in. Like there is no question in my mind that it is crystalline.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tend to
Again,
agree
the
with you.
creator and creation grows. It's magical to me when you're looking at solids. It's not, unless you're saying the pillars are either animal or vegetable. If they're mineral, they grow. They're crystalline. And
Mhm.
again, we think of solids as what we manufacture in plastics, and the stuff we do is not that remarkable at all. The properties of it and what we do to it, we think it's remarkable. It's not. We very poorly try to mimic nature and what's there. But when people look at these things and argue what could it be, nature is much. The creator is much more brilliant than we are. We don't have the chords. We don't have the messy, the clumsiness, anything. It's grown as needed. We're again, you add the vibration, the temperature, the electricity. You add all of the pieces and the chemicals there. It grows and it grows in perfect uh, beauty. You look at. I'm going to just a minute. Screen.
Oh, that's interesting. Space Miner says that would lend credence to the prophetic earthquakes when considering how harmony affects crystals.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Of course it would. Again, everything starts falling into place like this. Do you see the screen on the main screen, Zach?
Here you go.
Okay. This was a post that was sent to me, and I was tagged in this. And it's a beautiful, beautiful picture of a rock formation.
That's fascinating, yeah.
And it's just fascinating. And here was the post with it. Cami Nadell, look at this. That's me. I've not seen this so small before. How is it formed? And I should have put in my humble opinion, but lava flows, areas where it stays hotter. In other words, where you have a little bit more time for formation. Like when you've seen on Bismuth, you're going to have areas that form and other areas that look glass. So I'm looking at this macro and micro.
Mhm.
And oh wow, lava! I've seen the biggest area on Earth described as such, but some of those places were more obvious fibrous excited vertical shafts or whatever it's called. It's called basalt pillars or whatever. I've always had a hard time trying to see this as lava versus something geometrically inclusive. How does it cool in these formations? Only sometimes. I think when you look at the bismuth again, when you're looking at lava, which is cool so quickly, it doesn't take form, and you have areas that can crystallize in there. When you see bismuth and how you pull it out, you can see that's how nature creates. If people are actually taught how all rocks grow and how things form, this question, what is such a wonder, it's just that we're completely taught differently from it. So I said I can show you much easier than typing it all out. It's a wonderful question, quite literally. It's full of wonder. Because this is pretty, makes me wonder, it's me in complete awe.
But
But
it
I do
actually
see,
makes sense though if you think about lava and basalt and how that when it the in order
yes,
for the basalt to form the columnar jointing that we're seeing, it has to
hmm
cool slowly, right, for the
right.
geometry to form because if it cools rapidly, like the top of this piece did, I can like to me that's that top piece, right, is what people see think about when they see like lava flow that hardened
Exactly.
on like the Hawaiian Islands because it's the top that hardened
hmm
first,
First,
right? Leaving the inside
it was warmer and
like
forming the
warmer and
crystals.
then it cools slower on the inside so you get that beautiful columnar jointing as you go towards the center of this piece.
And then the
Uh,
outside where it cooled rapidly.
yeah.
And to me, to me, I look at this and I see natural beauty. Now, if you went to mainstream science, you're going to look at this and say that earthquakes or something caused this fragmenting rock and doing it. I am not giving you the mainstream. I'm not giving you the mainstream answer to this question, but I am talking about somebody that spent my whole life looking at rocks and minerals, not on a micro, on every different type of level where you touch it. And again, this is in what they teach you, or what they taught me was way different than what they're taught in universities, and way different than that's taught anywhere. But it was a practical science for me. It was somebody who needs to know how to tell what's ground below ground and above ground, because we can replicate all of this in laboratory now. It's quite amazing. But that's, again, it's hidden. While we know how to actually, we have the science to replicate, to see, to grow gold, to grow, diamonds, to grow anything we want in laboratory, and we can. It's not what they're teaching you at university. They're saying this has taken over millions of years, just like fossilization in that. In laboratory, we do it in a few days, and it happens naturally in nature in 2 to 10 years under normal conditions. So you'll see if you type in impossible fossils, you're going to see millions of things that people think that are 7,000 or 8,000 years old that have today's machining on it. Yeah, that's because they're from 20 years ago and it got buried by a dog. It's not really that old. As far as these people are saying that all mountains are multi-brick buildings.
I'm not convinced. Sorry.
I'm not convinced that, but I am going to say that in our history that things change very rapidly, even like the river in my backyard, the canyons, anywhere you look and where you build it. So things change very, very rapidly. And I think that there's a lot of mountains that have had fabulous buildings on them that are being found out now, and that these ruins are completely fascinating and beautiful and should be explored.
Well,
Mhm.
wasn't it
But
when Mount St. Helens erupted? It
it
wasn't
did
too
hundreds
many
of thousands.
years after
Uh-huh.
they found out that it layered just like all
Exactly.
these things that they say take millions of years, but it did it in like less than like it was under 10
Hours.
minutes. Yeah,
Mhm.
hours.
Yes.
Huge amounts of land came sliding down and it just formed in all these like layers. And people were like, well, that's what we see all over the place. And you say it takes millions of years, but here it happened in, no time at all, in less than a
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
So how much of what we've been told, and they're nice theories, it kind of makes sense, after so much time this happened and then something changed in the area and now this color rock's growing. Okay, it makes sense, but there was no, you can't stand there and watch it happen. It's one
Well,
of
that
those
was
things. Millions of years, they said. And then we look at that and it's like, well, that looks exactly like that. And it happened in a day.
Yeah, makes me wish I could just go work in a mine for like a week, just a week, just go let me explore it. And yeah, I think that'd be kind of a fun adventure just to say you've done it.
What you need to do is go find a salt mine in your area. I don't know if they have any salt mines in the US that do it. Oh, let me see.
I
Yeah,
think they do.
I
Karen
think
and I
they do.
find places you're going to have. You're in Utah. You're going to have salt mines and things like that to go to. Sir, Karen and I find little mines to go to and places to dig, and where they'll start digging for you. even you can go to the mines. Diamonds are one of the most fun ones with this because, like diamonds, you have the Superman storage and taking the coal and squeezing that coal into a diamond. And
Why
diamonds
would you
form,
have to mine it? That's my big question. Is why would you have to like go and dig it out of the ground when it's just abundant in the
it's
water?
it formed under such high pressure and this and that. And when we started making diamonds in laboratory under high pressure, we started exploding them. It didn't work well. Most of the diamonds we're making in laboratory, you'll find, are made by a different process entirely, and we use low atmospheric pressure, just so you know, in reality. But again, the stories they tell us
These big
are
deep
stories.
these
They
big
don't
deep
work
salt
when you
mines.
hit
I don't get
reality.
it. Like that's so much effort to do something that you can just do on the surface of the ground.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they mine it out the way they. Well, maybe because the top of it's covered with
Other
earth,
things. So yeah, a lot of the times you'll
so
have
they find
to.
the quickest way in and the quickest way out. Instead of removing all the earth around it, you just find the quickest way to get to the salt
I don't
instead
know.
of from
Yeah.
top down. Yeah, but
Well,
I hear
you
what
got
you're
like the
saying.
Great Salt Lake over here, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
they actually collect quite a bit of salt from the Great Salt Lake, and so that's like a surface level salt mine, and you can also do the same thing with the ocean and just kind of collect the salt right out of the ocean. So yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
but if
why
you
they'd
can
have to.
find a solid salt deposit, then you don't have to evaporate the water off of it, so
Yeah,
there is that. I mean,
But
because
just huge.
if you're getting it from the salt water, you have to evaporate the water off and whatever else is in there too.
Look at that.
But if you
I guess it's
find
already.
but if you find like solid salt crystals, right? That's the other thing. Like when it's in its crystalline form, it's already, almost pure salt, right? But
Yeah.
if you have it mixed with water, it's, mixed into the water and with everything else that's in the ocean and everything else, right? So there's going to be more of a process to drag that out.
Mhm.
But, if it's already a salt crystal, then you're ready. That's it. It's good to go.
And these are huge. Just think of look at the size of these things. This was all one big solid chunk of salt, pretty much. And then so that's a crystal right there.
Yep.
That's how big crystals can get. See the guy
They're
down
the
here?
size of mountains
Look
and
at that.
bigger. Like if you look at Marble Mountains in Carrara, Italy, I like to talk about that too because you can literally go on Google Maps to Carrara, Italy, and you'll see the mountainside there where it's all pure white because they're literally harvesting big chunks of marble out of the mountain, and that entire mountain is
Wow.
marble.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. This is why like so many sculptors and stuff were in Italy because Italy has a high concentration of marble, natural marble right there.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they're going to
I
be
keep
throwing away all the marble of Spartanburg, the county courthouse.
Throwing it away.
I'll tell you why afterward. I don't think the public's supposed to know about what's
Oh
going on
wow.
there. Yeah. I
Yeah.
won't get anybody in trouble. I know somebody that works there. And yeah, don't go there unless you have to. That's all I'm saying.
I keep thinking back to the salt lady Victoria from Colombia who came all the way up to Oktoberfest. She was talking about how our bodies have got so much salt in them. And she mentioned how our bones are like we always talk about the calcium in our bones, but no one ever talks about the salt content of our bones. About how it's like just as like we have just as much salt in our bones as we do calcium, but that's something that no, it's all calcium. That's all they focus on.
Wow, I had never heard that before. That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, our skeleton is crystalline too, right?
Oh yeah.
It's a crystal, it's a hard structure that grows in a predetermined form. It's definitely a crystalline structure.
Yeah, and she got talking about how anytime we cry salt water. Anytime
Yes.
they poke an IV in us, they're giving us salt water, and like
Yes, saline
yeah,
solution is basically the salt water that is the salinity of your body.
yeah. That's what electrolytes are. That's
Mhm.
the salt water. Yeah. So it's kind of everywhere. And I keep thinking that we're just totally like made for the ocean. Like you can actually swim in the ocean with your eyes open without it burning your eyes, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you can see these things forming out of nowhere here. Here I've slowed it down to a quarter speed. But look back here. Look at it. They'll just start popping out of like almost nothing. Little tiny speck. And that's interesting, the cross like that. Do you know what this is, Cammy? What type of crystal this would be?
I don't know, but it is interesting that it's like it's making the form of like what they call an iron
Hold on, hold
cross.
on, hold on, hold on. Let me tell me to
Mm-hmm.
look. I'm coming to look. I was in the restroom and I'm just seeing right now for the first time. You have bring it up more.
Start it back over.
Pretty much every religious, like all these symbols that we find in religion too, they all can be formed naturally in crystal forms by different
They're,
minerals. A
they're called your
cross,
platonic solids.
this iron cross,
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
the
I see
star of
that.
Remphan, the inverted stellated tetrahedron, that's a natural crystalline form. Like all of it.
Yeah,
Sacred geometry comes from
plutonic
crystals.
solids. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This, whatever it is formulating in there. It's making little octahedrons is what it's making, like you see in your fluoride or your magnetite, which, by the way, the same little beautiful shape there in the cubic system, you have these growing throughout your body too as magnetite. Look up nose magnet, and you're going to find that they found, in other words, little perfect little octahedrons of magnetite, which is nature's magnet, that you have at the tip of your nose and in other places. That well, just at the tip right here, you have one, and they've also found them throughout your body. They decided they're vestigial, meaning that we outgrew them like your appendix. So they don't bother telling you about them, or even med students or anybody really about it much, because they've determined that it's like junk DNA. Just so you know, look at them
Yeah.
grow,
The
whatever it is. This is
magnet
crystals
in your
growing.
nose is
Uh-huh.
junk.
Is
That's what
junk
they want
DNA.
us
Yeah,
to believe.
it's the perfect octahedron too, growing in the same like these ones are growing here. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like this
Magnet in
one.
your nose? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
it's hard to hear you.
yeah, a
Yeah, a
magnet. You know, is
magnetite. A
on with that.
little
Look, look.
magnetite crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny too because when I was reading about that on one of my streams, it's this little tiny magnetite crystal and it's actually floating in like a spongy material, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you can use it. It's called magnetoreception, right? Where the little magnetite crystal in your head is influenced by the Earth's magnetic field and it's set in a spongy material so that it can do those little gentle gyrations in a different and basically to let you know what direction you're going. This is how birds and stuff, know their
Exactly how
direction,
they
like
navigate.
migrating
Yes,
animals.
Uh-huh.
yes, and that's exactly how they do it. I'm looking right now and I'm typing in nose magnet. It used to take you right to the science things, and now it takes you to people that if you don't want to get your nose pierced, you can shove a magnet up there instead and pretend like it's pierced. I'm coming up with all kinds of nose magnets. Not natural. I want the natural.
Do they have a bone one?
And bone is crystalline too. All of this
No.
area.
Do they have the bone nose magnet thing?
I don't. Okay, magnetic bones in human sinuses. There you go. We hear that bones in the region of the are magnetic and here you go. Magnetic bones in human sinuses from health. And then they're going to give you your other ones, and then they're going to put me to nose rings again. You bastards. Used to be that I could pull up all of these, but we do have ethmoid bones and things that magnetic bones in our sinuses that are perfect magnetite. That's how it grows as octahedron. And I
That's
should be able to,
fascinating.
I'll get you more stories. I showed it, Karen, but Karen, yeah, it's all taken over now by and the nose magnet bone. Yeah, it's now taken over by people trying to sell nose piercings without the piercing.
The sphenoid ethmoid sinus.
Mm-hmm.
What does that stand for? What is that? Is that the name of the rock in your nose, the magnetic rock?
It's actually magnetite.
Ferric iron deposits in your
Magnetite in
sinuses.
human nose. Yes.
I wonder what they do with these.
Do humans have a compass in their nose? In any case, when it comes to humans, magnetite makes the ethnoid bone sensitive to the Earth's magnetic field. Yes, it's in the ethnoid bone. But it's a
So,
perfect little octahedron. Turned up.
How-
It also turned up in bird beaks and fish noses, and even the human brain. They found. Here, I'm going to give it to you. Humans have vestigial deposits of magnetite. I'm telling you, I did not make this shit up.
Except it's not vestigial.
I know, but I'm going to show you.
I know, but
something right
know
now.
I love when they call things vestigial. It's like, oh, you used
I
to
know.
use it, but you don't need it
You
anymore.
don't
Well,
need
what?
that
Because
shit
you said
anymore.
so.
that vestigial hand you have. Here we go.
Okay.
Do humans have a compass in their nose?
Oh, humans have vestigial deposits of magnetite in our sinuses, which were used by an evolutionary ancestor to sense the Earth's magnetic field for direction.
Yeah, but we
We
can't.
don't
We
use
could
them
never use it
anymore.
for that.
We couldn't use it anymore. I can, and I do. I can tell north and since north. The body's hidden compass. What is it? And how does it work? Do humans have a compass in their nose? Yes, they do. Follow your nose to the North Pole. Magnetoperception. It's unknown whether humans can sense magnetic fields. God knows where we can try to. Your brain is full of magnetic materials, and you might not. They know this shit, and you might not like the reason why. Oh, they're going to blame air pollution.
Oh
It's-
God.
The
Yeah,
human
that
body
makes-
has so much capability that it just gets suppressed, and we don't think about things like that. But you can train your nose to detect certain smells. Yeah, it just takes training to do that, to be more sensitive.
Hank and Minion face north about 70% of the time when they drop a deuce. Just saying. They know which way is north.
My dog does not. He doesn't care what direction it is.
Remy don't give a shit. Remy's like, yeah.
Remy's a honey badger.
He's a honey badger. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Karen, this is like the pollution derived. Okay, they're doing magnetic particles, but I want you to look at this magnetic particle in the brain and notice that it's got bam, bam, bam.
It's got the sacred geometry in it.
It's got the, yeah. So yeah, anyway, the body's hidden compass. But yeah, no, they kind of know it's there, but you guys, unless you see, I had to try hard to get into it, go to the part of MedNet, because if you do type in those magnets,
how big are they?
we're getting this. How big are they? There, it shows you.
It's teeny tiny. I mean, if you think about it, it doesn't need to be that big. It just has to have a few nerves attached to it to sense the direction that it's pushing on to let your brain know which way you're going.
I wonder if people with big noses really have a more sensitive magnetic sense.
Yeah,
well, some people have a better sense of direction, right? Like, you know how there's some people who always know where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
I can, I do not have a sensation of left and right, but I have a really, really strong sensation of north, south, east, and west by finding them. And they have played party games with me where you spin me around outside in the dark, and I usually can do it.
Yeah, she is really good at that. When we're in the car, she's always like, I don't think we're going in the right direction.
Yeah. But yeah, it used to be that you would come up with those pictures like everything else, just like when we were at about Oktoberfest and Premier Scups raised in price from $6.99 to $24.99. Our searches seem to take this. These are now our nose magnets.
My nose magnet was definitely not working inside that casino. I felt so backwards.
Oh my goodness, those
Oh my
places
I
are
God,
was like, which way
designed
do I go?
to get you lost.
All the flashing lights.
Oh, that I was really good until the last day, and the last day I was lost. I was gone. I was gone.
Yeah.
I think they intentionally design them to make you lost.
It
Oh, yeah.
works.
Oh, and then they black out the doors to
works.
the outside. They have 2 layers of black doors, so even in the
You
middle of the
can't tell if
day,
it's day or night. You don't
have
know
no
what's going
idea.
on, man.
Yeah,
It's all
weird.
intentional.
Yeah, I was having a hard time inside of there because, like, I live in a house in the woods and I don't have curtains on my windows, so the sun cycle is like in my face all the time. So at that casino, I was just like, what time
What
is
time
it?
is it?
What's
No
going
clocks
on?
anywhere. You can't find a clock in
They
that
don't want
place.
you thinking about that.
Nope. Just
Gerald
put the
Davis
coin
is
in.
in the chat. I know we're doing goofy things. Gerald Davis is in the chat. Sweetie, did you see like the bismuth, or were you getting how pieces of it could be in small and little deposits on what they grow? And again, I think the ruins and the stuff like this is so fascinating. I will look at these pictures all day long. But I do see nature and creation, and
It's really cool. Once you understand how rocks and crystals form, when you
grow.
look at pictures like that, you can sort of in your mind understand the type of environment that must have been at that time. This is why I think that most of these things that we see are from 2 periods of time in particular. First, the Earth's actual creation is where the majority of these from, like mountain ranges, like how all these mountain ranges and stuff have very specific looks, each range in different areas, right? It's because they have a specific mineral deposit there, and that's the way that those mountains solidified, right? That's how they grew, because they have that particular mixture of mineral there. And then the second time is when there was the flood, because you flood the whole earth with water and you're changing everything, you're changing the
Temperatures,
pressure,
pressures.
temperature. You're creating another instance of a supersaturated crystalline slurry, and then you get stuff like the petrified forest and all these like other different formations that happen, probably Devil's Tower, stuff like that.
Cammy,
Just my opinion.
can you grab one of those? I know there's a big one right on your desk, and it looks like the crystals grew out of it looks like bone. It doesn't look like rock or any other type of mineral. It looks like it's a bone, and the
Okay,
crystal grows right out of the bone. So as things die, they might get covered up by something, this and that they decompose, and then all of a sudden, stuff builds up on top of that, and eventually you have more pressure in that area now. So now you have temperature might be right, but the pressure was wrong. And then
Mm-hmm.
all this extra stuff gets stacked up on, things die, plants die, they fall down, you know, worms come by, eat stuff, poop it out. We call that dirt.
Yeah.
You know, there's not much that isn't part of the cycle of life here. Everything, even, sand is a crystal. Sandstone is just a bunch of crystals, those small sand crystals compressed together that
Mm-hmm.
make a rock. You can break it apart real easy with your hands almost, a lot of it. You can
But
just,
over time, like a bond is creating.
is
kind of
this
like
the piece you're
concrete.
talking about that you have like just the rough here,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
have
Let me
crystals?
bring
I
that
have
up.
really bad lighting, and it should be catching.
Oh,
Oops,
whoa.
yeah. Like in other words, I've got very bad lighting, but if you can see, do you see the crystals like coming here,
Mm-hmm.
through here in this? But you'll see that like it's
Well, show them
It's a crystal
the
mass where the
bone
crystals
part.
were growing all together.
Yeah.
It almost looks like the ridge off of some dragon or something like that.
I'm going to turn the light on and make it brighter.
Yeah, that might help.
I think that might help. Okay, I'm casual. I'm super casual, people.
There we go. That looks better.
It almost looks like teeth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we are going to look like teeth on here because that's exactly what I think happened. And do I think that the teeth were, God, I wish on the camera I could get how sharp and perfect they are. Let me see if I can get it without the. I'm trying to adjust lighting and stuff.
Yeah, that almost looks better.
Yeah, if you can
Back
see
it
how.
up just a hair.
Makes me want to learn more about like the remineralization of teeth. And Dennis will actually acknowledge that remineralization can happen, and you can kind of start to fill in your own cavities with this kind of process, natural processes. Yeah,
Well,
but
this right here, what it makes sense to me at is it like not that the animals had the sharp pointy teeth like this that were perfect crystalline points, but that there was calcium where the teeth were, and the calcium when it dissolved formed into calcite crystals versus some of the other stuff probably from a Java. This looks to me very much of the other parts. If you look at it, it's very much to me like a Java an animal. They won't say that, but you'll see that the row of teeth is right where row of teeth would be. And even though they are sharp pointed crystal points to me that would make perfect sense, because when it decomposed, what's there but calcium or from the teeth. And you'll see the row of crystals just forming on. And we found this. This is a piece that Zach found when we were hunting for rocks in Abbeville. So
that's pretty.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like the lower jaw of an animal. That's what I thought it
most
was
certainly
when I
does.
pulled it out, and
Yeah.
then all the the teeth were growing. The
Except for the
crystals
perfect
grew where the
crystals.
teeth were. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the topic of teeth, I've got to say, if you ever go to the dentist, always, always, always ask for a copy of your x-rays to take home with you. Then your dentist will say, oh, gotta watch out with this guy, because yeah, they will just cash cow you out. And yeah, and it's like you got to view your dentist as a used car salesman or something like that, or an auto mechanic. Auto mechanics will find any excuse to work on your car just to make money, and dentists will do the same thing. And so always ask for the copies of your x-rays and see if they'll do it. And some dentists will have no problem with, oh, here you go, here's a copy of your x-rays, and the other dentists will like, no way, sorry. Or they will say okay, and then they never give them to you. And that's when you know something's definitely up.
Yeah. Yeah, Daryl, the whole vitrified anomalies, I know there's some weird ones out there, man. There really is. Even ancient pottery has been found to have been glazed on one side but not the other, almost like it was introduced to some super intense heating from the atmosphere. So
Well,
yeah,
wait a minute.
I
If
don't
it's
know.
ancient pottery that's glazed on one side and not on another, couldn't that just be like a pottery
Well, it was
burning gone
before
wrong?
they say it was found from pottery before they started glazing anything.
Well, then
That's why the inside was
how would it
never
have a
glazed.
glaze on? Then how would they have a glaze on it? Like pottery doesn't glaze unless you put a glaze on it.
Well,
I love the Karen questions. They said
they
that,
said
but
they
they
didn't
were
have
doing
enough heat at that time. They couldn't get the kilns hot enough to make the clay do something to it. Yeah, I'm not saying this is.
But you can fire pottery without a glaze and it's just pottery, but there's no glaze on it.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it was, something like that, but one side of it was, they could tell that it was hit with super intense heat while the other side wasn't.
so it lost
Something
the
like
fire.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
We
definitely do
also
that with pottery. And
pottery and adobe and all of that too. They're learning now. Like some of the old way of glazing them was not as advanced as we think. You take egg whites and you smear them over it, and it makes a hardened glaze. So they are. I find it hard to believe. Like again, they had the eggs in that and the hardening of it. A lot of our glazing. We make the chemical stuff, but when you break it down into lecithin and stuff, you can do the same ingredients with egg whites. I'm not finding
egg whites is a glaze. I've never
egg
heard of
whites.
that before.
Yep,
Wow.
egg whites is a glaze. Yep, used
Yeah, on
in
pastry.
no, another thing. No, the same thing on if you do that and spread it over like dirt walls or any type of floor or anything like that, it's going to make a hardened glaze. Look it up.
Wow.
Things in the past that they knew that we forgot.
I believe it though, because when egg whites harden, they become pretty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, Karen. Just like again, and putting. We also know that if you take eggs and you throw them in salt water, they don't go bad. You just frying your eggs and they'll last for months and years. And even we forgot how to preserve without refrigeration and things. In this country, and I was guilty of it. I was so guilty of it. One of the first times I traveled abroad, I freaked out when I went to the grocery store and they had the pallets of eggs down the middle of the store, not in the refrigerator section. And I said, oh my God, their eggs are not in the refrigerator. And I found out that we're like one of the few countries that refrigerate eggs. But once you refrigerate them, once you wash them down and refrigerate them, if you leave them out, they'll go bad. But they last longer if you don't do that in the first place. So.
Yeah, I figured that out with my chickens. My chickens can lay eggs and they'll be good out there for a week and be just fine.
Just fine. Yep. We overcomplicate things. So, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Our fridges are just full of eggs. Yeah.
I got a fridge in my garage full of eggs too.
Oh, Karen, I was so mad. I did leave your house forgetting the eggs because we were out of eggs when I left your house. And I remember, I know. I saw that fridge was full of them and we had 0 eggs. We had to buy eggs.
I got a lot.
I know. I saw that. I knew that if I asked for eggs, you were going to say, yeah,
Here,
baby.
take 2.
I'll have to come back if we're allowed back over there after last time. It was exciting, but we're not going to do that ever again. So, okay.
You never had to smuggle eggs from Mexico then, right? When they had that whole egg price jump up like crazy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Does it? Yeah.
Didn't have to deal with that at all.
Yeah. That's the beauty of having your own chickens.
Yeah. I was already dealing with the diva chickens.
A bit of food. Okay, this is mono ammonium phosphate.
Yeah.
Growing in a 72-hour time lapse. All right, that's what I was looking for. That's pretty neat.
Makes me want to experiment a whole bunch with white, like the egg whites, and see what kind of crystallization I can do. Because yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about, is using the glaze to form a solid crystal over pottery and other things.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Look how much liquids come out of there.
Yeah. With that, it's more of a Lechitchen binding chemistry. Kyle says a different chemistry thing with the eggs and the crystallization, because there you have the Lechitchen and the binding ingredients of carbon. So a little bit of a different alchemy, but still very cool nonetheless. And did a great job at glazing things. Look at that. Looks like
3 days. That's all that took to grow, was 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now keep in mind that most of the metals, gold, platinum, the different metals that grow in the ground and crystallize, they cannot get them to change over slow enough not to have them perfectly form and crystallize. You know how bismuth happened in like seconds, in minutes? A lot of these happen so quickly in microseconds that we can't get them to change over as a glass or end form in science. And that's pretty remarkable when you're talking about how could this realm be created in 6 days, or is that even possible? And you look how quickly creation happens.
It's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible, which is what blew my mind when I put all those dots together. I was like, oh,
wait a minute,
boy, that's crazy.
Yeah. When you start looking into flat Earth, it brings a lot of people back.
This right there, when you go on it, they're using a pre-2005 kit because it works better than the newer ones. Just like the new rock growing kits that you get when you grow crystals on your hub and you pour water in and get a mold instead of growing the crystals. They're taking all of this technology away from kids. And if you want to know what's back there again, and in the 50s it was taught in the physics level classes that we knew all of this and we were teaching it to the military and at top level science, and yet we've undone it all, which makes you really wary on why this is beautiful. Why aren't kids learning that rocks grow?
And I love this right at the top here, what happens. It just starts spreading out. Instantly I thought of, wow, the pillars of earth standing in the waters of the deep. It just, as soon as it hits that air, it just...
On top of that, the other minerals start forming on top of that as the water evaporates off. When you separate the waters from the waters, and then you create that space, right, where you give space for the water to evaporate off and allow land formation on the surface.
Just so cool.
Yeah, man.
It's amazing how it all grows like that. So did you guys have anything else? Any videos you want to show? Anything like that? I know I didn't give you much of a heads up. I apologize about that. Cami and I were talking about this yesterday, and I was like, yeah, let's just talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah, if I can find it, I have a video that I would like to share because it's a video by let me see, I might have it in a playlist on my channel.
While you're looking, I want to say, Canadian Divergent, thank you for joining us tonight. It was great to have you in the chat. The gentleman in the top left, his name is Zachary Zabala, or his screen name is Good Times for All. And the rest of us, Asian 17, that's me, Cami, Karen B, Kyle Adams. He had to go, but he said that for the show, he had some great questions in there, and we loved having him.
Awesome.
Baggins, thank you for the tip. Hi, Cami. I know this question is not related to crystals, but do you know if there are any validity to those EMF protection necklaces, pendants? Do you know if they work at all? I would say that if it's just a necklace or a pendant, I don't know how it could work at all. In my understanding of it, it would almost need to be chainmail in order for me to think of EMF. Am I off on this? This is a better question probably for Zachary Zabala. But if you're going to get hit with EM blaster, that for protection and do it, wouldn't it take basically chainmail around you everywhere, a Faraday cage in order to protect you? Wouldn't it take more than a little amulet?
Yeah, that would, unless they put off some kind of
Field that I'm not understanding.
frequency or something like that themselves. I'd have to see it, and because I've never heard of anything that emits, like any type of mineral that would emit something that would stop an EMF, an electromagnetic field, from getting you. Now, a Faraday cage, that's how you stop things.
That's how you
Like
stop it.
like the
Radiating.
tinfoil hat guys, there's something to that. Just
Mhm.
saying. It is like a Faraday cage protecting your head from the EMF waves, at least coming from the top down that way. It really, as crazy as it sounds, there's people who actually sell clothes with EMF protective layers within the clothing because of all the 5G and all that kind of stuff that's going out now.
Right, and
So
they
yeah,
make
they make
tinfoil hats.
clothes with this stuff already inside of it, the actual clothes. If you're worried about EMF, check out that kind of stuff.
And they made tinfoil hats so ridiculous, and tinfoil hatters ridiculous with that in mind. That it really does work. I found it utmost. I learned so much and found it very fascinating. One of the Saturdays that Karen does a show with Jack called the Anti-Religious Scripture Study, and what it is it's taking the Old Testament books and it's breaking it down into concordance Hebrew, and it's not taking any religious thing on that. You're just doing etymology and word study and taking it through. But what I found really fascinating is the garments that they were describing making in order to go in the high priest to go in the room with the ark were akin to chainmail or a Faraday cage. Found that quite fascinating. With the radiation and the different things that we're talking about and protecting. So I do like that question. I guess, again, if a field could extend, but as far as practicality, if you're going to do it, I would,
Yeah, Ben Balderman in
that.
chat, or Ben Balderson, said that he's heard that they put off large amounts of radiation actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be bad.
That would be bad, exactly. It would be something that
Yeah.
you would want to be protected from. So yes.
And a big shout out to Guyana Spice for the $10 super chat earlier. Thank you so much. And over on Rockfin, we have Eric the Red with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. And John Keeley with the $5. Thank you very much. It really does help, so we appreciate it.
What was putting off the large amounts of radiation?
Those pendants, the protection necklace pendants to protect you from EMF, they're actually putting off
Radioactive.
radiation themselves. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Yeah, and there's a lot of
curious-
things that put off dangerous amounts of radiation. Your vacuum cleaner, if you have a vacuum cleaner, those things are horrible. The amounts
Really?
of EMF, I think that might be why dogs hate them so much, actually. Maybe not just the noise. But yeah, vacuum cleaners, you put the EMF meter up to that and it goes insane.
Wow.
Maybe
I
because
never
they're
would have guessed
creating
that.
maybe because they're creating a vortex.
Could be. Yeah, there's something really weird in vacuum cleaners, the way that, yeah. And yeah, I mean, even the wires running through, if you get close enough to them and if you like sat those wires on your lap, there's a dangerous amount to just be sitting there touching it the whole time.
Yeah.
also
I heard
taking
that's
in-
something dangerous about like the power lines outside that run by your house, like the high voltage power lines. They're putting off a lot of like radiation
They are
too.
putting up a lot of it.
Mhm.
Tim Alderson says, I occasionally wear a giant Lobobite, so I'm not doing any better, laugh out loud. You might want to look into some work by Curious Life. It was Curious Life of the Flat Earther, a Curious Life Kirk, a past GLOBEBUSTER he comes in and out of. He was doing a work and doing pendants that were radioactive and suggesting that, again, what they're telling us are dangerous amounts, small amounts of it are actually found healthy in certain materials. And that, again, they're taking the entire and demonizing all and not letting us see the healthy things that go through. And something tells me that wearing a piece of moldavite is probably doing better. And again, when you put moldavite, is going to be interesting because that's going to be one of those rare solids things that you can get here on this realm. That's an actual glass, not crystalline, which is very, very cool. You're going to get a certain energy from that. I don't know if it's all that bad. I'm going to give you points for wearing the moldavite and wearing some of the other pieces of jewelry that might have a little bit of radioactivities. The jury is out on that. One of the other things that's fun that I worked with in the jewelry industry is one of the colorations, a green, a chromium color that you'll get in diamonds and that is caused by radioactive. So these stones are radioactive slightly. And they're one of the hardest things to detect if you're dead above ground or below ground, because you can take something and find it above ground, expose it to radioactive with certain things and get it to turn green. So green diamonds, think about it when you're seeing somebody wearing them, it probably is a little radioactive. See, there are a lot of stones that radiated blue topazes, like things that look like bubblegum blue topaz and that look like candy. A lot of these stones are irradiated. We were more radiated stuff than we think. Well, now moldavite is bad. No, moldavite is good. I like moldavite. I don't think it is bad at all.
So what is this video you have here, Karen?
This is Marcel Vogel, and this is him doing a talk about how nature creates matter. It's kind of like what we were talking about, it's basically very relevant to everything we've been saying here. So let me see if you guys hear him talking. Tell me if you hear it.
Once that soul
Yes.
Awesome.
enters that unit cell, consciousness is given to it, a soul, which form a unit cell of its identity in space. And from that unit cell, a consciousness is given to it, a soul, if you want. Once that soul enters that unit cell, it draws to itself the replication of its image. We speak of man being made to the image and likeness of God. We can see that in action when you grow crystals. I've grown thousands of them. It's the most exciting thing you can involve yourself with. You first must develop a seed crystal. That is, you let matter go into a state of solution. You take water, you dissolve salt, sodium chloride, in the water. A salt is a crystal. When it's in solution, it is clear, transparent, light will pass through it with no distortion except the normal refraction of the change in refractive index from the glass vessel to the water. You then evaporate the water down to a point where you get to supersaturation. Now, what does supersaturation mean? It means that the water molecules moving around in the sodium chloride molecules moving around in the water are getting closer and closer together. And finally, supersaturation is these molecules are bumping. The free space has been reduced and they hit. When they hit, energy takes place, exchange, and they start then to, the next moment they hit, they fuse. They lock into place and you get what we call precipitation. It falls out of solution. Supersaturation. When they fall out of solution, that precipitation is a polycrystal. Poly means many different directions. Now you take a polycrystalline particle, you take one under the microscope and you pull a single crystal of one of these little tiny crystals out, and you mount it on the tip of a wire, silver wire or copper as well. You then put it into a saturated solution. That means that these molecules are jiggling together, but they're not bumping or crowding into each other. The moment you put that crystal in, the outer face of that crystal will dissolve, comes to equilibrium with the mass that you have, and suddenly a remarkable thing takes place. From that melt, from that crystal, an information has been transported to the fluid to say, I am ready now to grow into the form I am to be. It releases a consciousness. And then as you hold your temperature constant and the vibration around the room, the thing will start to accrete, 1 unit cell at a time. A unit cell is the smallest fraction of the combination, let's say, of sodium and chlorine, that it will retain the identity of sodium chloride. You go below that, it is only a sodium atom and a chlorine atom, or ion. Now, I'm going to come right back to where I started. I made, in 1961, a major discovery.
This is the best part.
That I could grow crystals precisely when I applied sound to them. When I found the note for a particular class or category of crystals I wished to grow. And when I sounded that note, either in the solution or in the furnace, that crystal grew perfectly. I got a magnificent single crystal with all of the faces developed and in exact pattern of symmetry and form. This is a crystal of quartz.
Oops.
When
Okay, so that was like the most important part that I wanted everybody to hear is when, because he lived his life studying crystals, and Marcel Vogel is the one who who came up with and invented the Vogel cut, where you see these perfectly clear, water clear quartz crystals that are cut into a specific shape with so many sides, 4, 6, 8, very specific, and the one end is like a receiving end and one end is a giving end, and they are specifically designed to be healing crystals, right? To maximize the healing properties of these crystals and to magnify it. And
Wow.
so his crystals, if you get a Vogel cut crystal to this day, it's like many hundreds of dollars to get a properly Vogel cut, water clear crystal, healing crystal. And so he did a lot of work with this.
And he made them?
Yeah, you have to cut, like the crystal will only grow into the forms that it can grow into, right? It
It's
only,
plutonic solid.
right. But quartz crystal in particular grows into the most forms of any crystal there is. Quartz has the most forms, right? Most crystals will have like 2 or 3 forms that they grow into. Quartz has like 6. So and quartz is also the most plentiful mineral on earth, maybe
everywhere.
besides salt, right?
Yeah.
Quartz. So he worked with quartz a lot, and this is the work that he did. But to me, like having a super saturated solution, introducing a sound, a frequency, a specific sound frequency, and then the crystal growing in a perfect form, like that is to me, us, doing what the creator did. That's us mimicking
that's
and
about as
learning from the
close to
creator
it.
and the creation, right? The great deep, there was the great deep, right? The formless deep, which you would think of like as a liquid, right? Liquid isn't really form, it just takes the form of the container. And so and then the creator spoke, let there be light. That's sound, and sound and light are essentially the same thing, but that's the same thing. That to me tells me,
Electricity disperses in 3 ways: sound, light, and heat.
The
right?
sound of creation.
Yeah, man. Totally. It's so cool.
Universe. It's all in that name. Universe.
When they were in laboratory making the perfect snowflakes and getting the perfect snowflakes and even duplicate and triplicate ones, they added the element of sound and electricity to get the perfect. And again, it was the word or the vibration.
I'm having trouble hearing you, Cam. You're really cutting out bad
Oops.
now.
Okay, well, maybe I've outshined the amount of time I can talk, but no, I was saying that in when they were doing perfect snowflakes, they had to add in vibration and electricity to the mix, and again, your vibration and your sound you'll get when you take all of the parts of creation, you get it all.
Did any of you do like the freezing, like the audible freezing stuff, like those experiments? Where like you talk to the water and get it to freeze in different shapes?
No,
Oh
I
yeah,
never
that's
did that
Dr.
one.
Emoto. That's Dr. Emoto. You know who else is fascinating to look at too? Is Veda Austin. I don't know if you're familiar with Veda. Her name's Veda Austin, Veda Austin, but she does a lot of studies with water, and she does a type of crystallography with water where she introduces different images and ideas, either telepathically or verbally or whatever to water, and then she flash freezes it, and then the water in the image of that she freezes, it shows whatever she was talking about. You'll see birds, flowers, words, letters, whatever, everything. It's incredible. That water is programmable in the memory of it, and I consider water to be like the mother liquid crystal, right? Because water is a crystal, ice is a crystal. When it's in a hardened form, that is the technical definition of a crystal. So water is a liquid crystal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool when you think about all of it.
Is that the link to the thing right here? Austin's crystallography?
I don't know. Did somebody share it?
Yeah.
Yes, Brianna Lynn. Oh, yes. Thank you, Brianna. Yes, exactly. That's it. Check it out.
Where you put like an image below the
yeah, she uses these little glass petri dishes, right, and puts a little bit of water in there and puts it either on top of a picture or says words to it, and does it flash freezes it, and it shows whatever, like it reflects what was being said and put towards that water at that time.
I like that because those are the kinds of experiments that anyone can do at home.
Exactly.
Try it out for yourself.
Yeah, she even has a thing where she teaches people how to do her little technique where she tells you what to get, the stuff you need, and then you can do it.
I
So.
want nitrogen.
Yeah.
I want to play with liquid nitrogen. I've been watching lots of videos of it lately. It's just dangerous, but it seems like a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Well, folks, I think that's going to do it. That was awesome, Karen. I'm definitely going to check out some more from that guy.
Yeah, his videos are fascinating. His lectures, I implore everybody to go look at it. Nobody talks about what the work that Marcel Vogel did, but it's very fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Murray Cole over on Rockfin for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Murray. Much appreciated. It really helps us. It really does. All your guys' support. So thank you to everybody out there. And even just being here, watching it, hitting the thumbs up, whatever you guys do, leaving a comment, it all helps. So thank you. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to be here doing this. So we really do appreciate it. All right. So we're going to go around once and see what everybody has coming up, and then we're going to head on out of here. So Karen B., I know you have scripture study on Saturdays and tomorrow.
Coffee talk on Monday. Yeah.
And tomorrow, are you going to do it tomorrow on your Rockfin membership?
I may do it. I might if I can swing an early stream, but I do have my mom in town. So
tell her I said hi.
I may or may not do one tomorrow, but if I don't do one tomorrow, I will for sure do one next Friday.
Okay.
Promise.
Cool.
But yeah.
And then where are you and Jack at on religious scriptures?
We're in Numbers 16 or 17. So
yeah, last week's was awesome. It was a little shorter than usual.
I think, well, because it was a long chapter, so we did half the chapter that last week, and then we're gonna do the second half of the chapter this next.
Yeah, I love how you guys do it. Yeah. Awesome stuff. All right. And then of course Strange World Tuesday nights.
Yes. Strange World Tuesday nights with Mark Sargent at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. Good times.
Those are so much fun. You guys always
are fun.
This great sense of humor. I love it.
Yeah, we gotta laugh. Just because we're flat earthers doesn't mean we can't laugh.
Exactly. Laughter is the best medicine, folks.
Exactly.
It really is.
And in Clown World, you just can't stop.
All right, Kyle, what do you got coming up this week, sir? Yeah, everybody go make sure and see if you're subscribed to Kyle's channel. He just had to redo it again not that long ago, and they already unsubscribed me from that channel once. I just went to go check today. I asked him, I know you were going to be putting up, and he's like, dude, I put up a video every day since Flattoberfest. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And yeah, I went and looked, and there they are. I was unsubscribed from him. So they're already playing the games with him. They just took his channel down, and now they're unsubscribing people. So go over.
The war is real. The war is very, very real. So yeah.
And it's not going to be televised. You're not going to hear about this on the news. So please go over to Kyle's channel. It's Kyle Adams on YouTube. And
you'll find me easiest by typing in abolish NASA, Kyle Adams, and you'll find me. Abolish NASA. So yeah.
There we go. So what do you got coming up this week, Kyle?
Well, I've been, as you mentioned, I've been doing a new video every day, and I've been staggering out the interviews I've been doing from Flattoberfest. I've been doing like one of those once like every other day, or about anyway. And I'm still not finished uploading all of those, but they're underway. And I've also been doing a whole lot of work on my debate board. Like every single one of these episodes of GlobeBusters Tech, they're all on my debate board. And so anyone wants to explore those further, attach additional links. If they, well, what about that? You that's not right. And you can come talk to us about it. And yeah, it's really funny. And I keep looking at it, and there's been a lot of different debates about a lot of different, like every video I make really goes onto my debate board. And so I was going to say that each one of those like has like a whole line of thought of tons of different little conversations that stem off from little videos, and I could do videos about each of those little conversations because some of them get really funny. They just get really funny with some of the arguments people come up with. One of the recent arguments I've been having is, oh well, about cats are fish. So someone's like, yeah, it's just the crazy stuff that you get into with globe earthers, and yeah, it's just like, yeah, are cats fish? I'm like, no. Yeah. You can't prove that cats aren't fish. I'm like, seriously, that's what this is coming down to. And yeah, it gets funny. So I've got to do some highlight reels on that sometime. The weird, wacky conversations with some of these trolls out there. But, yeah, I don't know. There's always something happening. I'll tell you that much.
All righty. And Miss Cammie Nodell, where can we find you hanging out this week, ma'am?
Well, you can find me hanging out probably at Iron Realm tomorrow night and on GLOBEBUSTERS on the Sunday afternoon show. But more than that, you can find me planning mine and Karen's next road trip. Karen, we have work to do. I posted it in the show chat, but we from January 27th through February 11th, we need to go to Tucson, Arizona. We have some flat snacking to do because you remember how I told you about Tucson?
Yeah, I know about Tucson. I've been wanting to go to Tucson
but
for years.
we have a dual purpose now because look at, I just posted their blurb in there when I put the Winter Showcase, which it is. Winter Showcase returns January 27th through February 11th, 2024. Every winter, more than 65,000 guests from around the globe. We have over 65,000 guests to inform that they are not on a globe. So not only do we have,
so now you
I'm
have
reading this direct, not only do we
serious
have
reason.
serious reasons to meet up with Ben Balderson and Daryl Davis, who have shopping lists of Lemurian crystals, and Ben, I think, needed to get some labradorite in bulk badly. He needs it badly. We need some minerals and fossils badly, but they
Can't have enough minerals.
Enchanting gems, minerals, and fossils at more than 40 gem shows across the whole city. There's 40 different gem shows going on. And you know what? I think I still have some business cards that will get us into the fun ones.
Arizona flat earthers are really awesome. I've gotten to meet up over there. We had watermelon together. It was awesome. Yeah, love the Arizona group.
We have 65,000 guests. We need to inform that they are not from around the globe. So we have work to do.
No longer on the ball. I believe it was you who was trying to get a hold of us over at Iron Realm Media and said you sent an email. I asked the fellas and they did not receive an email. So it's all one word, Iron Realm Media at Gmail. I think it's you, no longer on the ball. Pretty sure. But yeah, they didn't receive it. They said they haven't received anything at all. So, okay. And then you can find me tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. in about 8 hours, 22 minutes. We'll be at Iron Realm Media here on YouTube or freeworld.fm. They're starting to get the website, all the kinks out of it and everything. I love the comment section. It's got all the, you could type any GIF in there you want, like any phrase or something, and it's going to come up with a bunch of pictures that it'll throw at you. It even gave me pictures for Good Times for All. None of them were me or anything like that, but I put my name in how I spell it with the 4 and everything, and a bunch of pictures pop up. It's insane. So I speak in GIFs in that comment section. I don't type any letters at all over there. It's fun. So yeah, we're hanging out pretty raw, me at 5 a.m. Before any coffees entered my body or anything. So you get me, that's about as raw as you're going to get me right there. Not as refined as I am here on GLOBEBUSTERS. But yeah, we do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then tomorrow night, Have No Sphere is going to be awesome. Fletch got a picture from the east coast of Florida looking out over the ocean and got some mountain ranges and cannot figure out where they are, looking like to the northeast.
Huh.
from Florida. Yeah, from the coast, and got serious mountain ranges.
There's a way to figure it out.
We've put it into a bunch of different websites and stuff. There's one that keeps telling us it's in Switzerland, but they don't really line up all that perfect. And I mean, he was at a high elevation. I think he was at like 17,000 feet at the time of taking that picture or something like that. But it was with the infrared camera. And yeah,
Well,
it's
Switzerland would be across the ocean, so I highly doubt that that's the case.
I know. I'm maybe
I doubt that
Iceland,
because of
Greenland.
angular resolution is
Yeah, there's
gonna
no way.
eliminate most of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
From
I'm
Florida?
thinking too. Yeah, with the
Some
P900.
islands. All I can think of it
I have
is
to
some
see it.
uncharted
Yeah,
islands.
well, we're going to be covering all of that tomorrow with Fletch live on Iron Realm Media's Have No Sphere tomorrow starting. I hate telling people what time it starts because I don't know. We're wizards.
It's tomorrow night, though, right? It's not the morning
Yes.
show. It's the night
No,
show.
the night show. Yeah.
Okay.
We try to start at 6, but it usually ends up being 6:15, maybe 6:30, sometimes 6:45.
Subscribe and hit the bell, and you'll be notified.
There you go. Yeah, Iron Realm Media. We have a lot of fun over there. I love the guys over there. And Cami, she's part of the group too.
Yes, she is.
So yeah, come hang out. So that's gonna do it for the show. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out. Yeah, rocks grow. It's amazing. It really is.
Yes, they do.
It's and a lot faster than we've always been led to believe. That's the coolest part about it is these things are happening right now underneath you, maybe above our heads right now, you know, all around us. These things are taking place. Yeah, it's a really cool place we live in. Lots of stuff to learn. So keep learning. Remember, be good to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind because there's truth inside. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.